What is the religion of Thetis? Well, we know that the main god is the Maker, though it seems like he doesn't hear prayers unless he wants to. And we know that magic is bad and must be controlled because humans apparently brought harm upon themselves by being prideful and corrupt. Now, that's about as much as I remember from my playthrough. So today, let's talk about the Orlesian Chantry and how they screwed up the world. And welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be discussing Dragon Age and its lore. We'll be looking at the Orlesian Chantry and discussing why they are considered one of the three major factions of Thedas, second only to the Imperium and the Qunari Imperium. If you've played the game, you'll know that this is the default religion of Thedas, with the notable exception of Tevinter. Not to mention that almost all the companions of the Warden, Hawk, and the Inquisitor were members of the Chantry, with some of them being priests. Yet not all was well within this religion, because the views held by the clerics were very different from the views of the prophets of old. So sit back, relax, and join me as we look at exactly how the Chantry came to be, what exactly they preach, and what their plans are for the future of Thedas. The Orlesian Chantry is the dominant religious organization in Thedas. It is based on the Chant of Light, a series of teachings written by Andraste, the prophet of the Maker, and her disciples. The beliefs of the Chantry are also referred to as Andrastianism, and its followers are known as Andrastians. The Andrastian Church was founded by Cordillus Dracon, the first emperor of Orlais, and it's safe to say that he did so because of how influential his advisor and sister Isabella was. Though it didn't start out as a hierarchical institution, the teachings of the prophetess Andraste, along with her disciples, formed the foundation of the faith, and the book containing these sermons is referred to as the Book of the Prophet. And the Chantry teaches that the Maker made all men equal, yet also that they have all sinned. Women are seen as inherently more pure and better than men, and the Chantry is highly patriarchal. Non-human races are seen as having strayed even further from the Maker's grace, and the Church generally looks down upon them for this reason. However, the Chantry does claim to be welcoming of all races, saying that it is the path of light that will guide them to salvation. This means that technically there can be elven, dwarven, or even Qunari Andrastians, though there are no known examples of any Qunari following this particular religion. The Orlesian Chantry is a missionary religion and aims to spread the chant of light to all four corners of the world and to all races. They see all non-humans as having turned even further from the Maker's grace than humanity has, though some of them claim that it is simply because they haven't had the chance to learn the light just as humans have. The elves worshipped, and in some cases still worship, the elven pantheon, and dwarves venerate the stone. The Chantry believes that once all peoples have accepted the chant and practice its teachings, the Maker will return to the world and restore it to its former glory. The Orlesian Chantry views the return of the Maker as something that is imminent, believing that he is watching patiently and will come back when the time is right. As such, Andrastian religion in Thedas can be described as deistic in that the Maker abandoned the world, and he will not heed prayer or perform any other function until his favor is regained. Chantry theology teaches that magic is a corrupting force in the world, and that it should be kept away from regular society, as it attracts evils that prey on those who wield it. The Orlesian Chantry calendar is used everywhere in Thedas, save for the Tevinter Imperium, and is the source of the names of the ages. The Chantry also believes that Andraste was the bride of the Maker, and that she is now exalted at his side. They consider her to be a martyr who suffered greatly and died a horrible death, but only so that she could save humankind. The teachings of the Chantry are derived from the teachings of Andraste herself, and they are collectively referred to as the Chant of Light. According to the chant, the Maker made all men equal, but they have all sinned. Women are inherently more pure and better than men, and the Chantry is very patriarchal. Non-humans are seen as having strayed even further from the Maker's grace, and the Church generally looks down upon them for this reason. However, the Chantry does claim to be welcoming of all races, saying that it is the path of light that will guide them to salvation. The faith of the Chantry is rooted in 4 core principles. First, magic is a corrupting influence in the world. Second, humankind's sin of pride destroyed the Golden City and created the Darkspawn, terrible embodiment of that sin. Third, Andraste was the bride of the Maker, a prophet and martyr, whose ultimate sacrifice must be remembered and honored. Finally, humankind has sinned and must seek penance to earn the Maker's forgiveness. These teachings have been adapted and changed throughout history. For instance, the early Chantry viewed mages as abominations, but later came to accept them as God's children, though still viewed them as tainted. The Chantry's view on the relationship between humans and magic is a bit complicated. On the one hand, they believe that magic is a gift from the Maker, and they view mages as simply having been touched by the Maker, and thus they should be integrated into normal society. On the other hand, they believe that magic is inherently dangerous, and that it attracts evils that prey on those who wield it, which makes them inherently a bit untouchable. Therefore, the Chantry seeks to both integrate them into normal society while also keeping them isolated from it. This contradiction is resolved by having mages live in the towers, separate from society, but still overseen by both the Chantry and the Templars. And even then, they don't really agree on what should happen to mages. The Chantry wants to teach them the light and bring them to the Maker, while the Templars want to shackle and control them. One of the tenets of the religion is that men are inherently sinful. The reason for this belief is said to be that all men have the blood of Mavarth running through their veins. Mavarth was the brother of Andraste, who betrayed her to the king in exchange for his own safety and power. In the eyes of the Chantry, he chose power over his own sister's safety, which is why every man is born sinful, and it is the woman's duty to help them get to heaven. Because of this, the Chantry is very patriarchal, as it is women who must pray for men and guide them towards the light, and it's the men who are condemned for the sins of the past. Andraste herself believed that men and women were equal in the eyes of the Maker, but the Chantry disregarded that teaching, choosing to focus instead on the sacrifice that Andraste made for men and how she helped mankind to turn away from the old ways and toward the Maker. The Chantry also views the sacrifices made by men as less valuable than those made by women, because women are closer to the Maker and thus their sacrifices are worth more. With magic comes the concept of demons. The Chantry teaches that demons are entities that exist in the Fade, and they prey on those who dabble in magic and try to tempt them to the dark side. They are the antithesis of everything the Chantry stands for, and thus they are sworn enemies. Demons are viewed as evil beings who try to tempt mages to do evil deeds, and they are said to be the reason for many mage rebellions. In summary, the Orlesian Chantry is a major force in Thedas, a religion based on the teachings of Andraste, the prophetess of the Maker. It is a hierarchical institution with a strict code of conduct and beliefs. The Chantry views magic as a corrupting force, and they keep mages away from normal society, believing that they will taint it. They also believe that men are sinful by nature, and it is the woman's role to help them achieve salvation. Andraste sacrificed herself to save humanity from their sins, and it is through her sacrifice that they will be saved. The Chantry seeks to spread its teachings to all corners of the world, hoping to convert everyone to its way of thinking. And only when everyone has been converted will the Maker return to the world. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the subject in the comments below. And as always, in case you like the content, please consider liking, subscribing, and turning notifications on. See you all again next time.